Connect with like-minded AHK users in our private chat, helping each other out and sparking ideas that make scripting way more fun. Join our Friday and Saturday Zooms for 3 hours of hands-on AHK teaching and support. Get unstuck and level up in real time.
Claude is my friend.
I'll tell you that 4.5 is really good. It's finally like AutoHotkey has caught up with other languages being able to people to use it to automate stuff. Or at least closer.
What I've been working on is from yesterday's idea about adding the toolbar.
Yeah,
And
did you want to?
it seems to work really well. You want me to show it to you?
Sure.
Here's you see my script, my tool GUI.
Yes.
So I added just this morning, I added the feature to be able to hover over
Nice.
a button and you can, it'll show the various values.
Yeah.
It'll do both a text only or an icon only. If you click on help, that button, this is just a test. It pops up that error message. I've gone in and added to the class some checks, for instance, to make sure that you have a proper callback, that the icon, if you specify an icon, that the icon file exists.
Mm-hmm.
It already checks to make sure you don't have duplicate button names.
Correct.
Cool. Wow.
So I think it's ready for testing.
Nice.
That's a good one. Okay.
Or Irfan could integrate it into his new
The editor.
Yeah.
editor.
That's
Right.
looking cool. And if you just remove the text, it would look like site.
That one there's without no text is defined for that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
but they
I think
haven't
you can make them so the size of the button, if you make it 32 by 32, for example. That's what we do, for example, in Prompt Assistant, by the way. So in Prompt Assistant, I add an icon. So if you open, well, I don't know if you have Prompt Assistant, but if you do, you can see that there's some buttons that have no text. So, but the funny thing is, you cannot have a button without a text. You have to put a space for it to work. If you don't put a space, then it doesn't show up. So go ahead and open it, yeah. And just open the Prompt Assistant and then go to Customize. Yeah, there it goes. So on the right side, you can see that I have a few buttons. Now, here's the difference. There are two differences from the toolbar at the top, for example, on site versus the buttons that I have on the right.
Yes.
So the buttons that I have on the right, they're kind of like lifted up a little bit. They look like little squares. And I'm not referring to those. Go more to the right. More. There we go. Yeah, these guys. So this is exactly what you're doing on the toolbar. The difference is I'm showing them as buttons. They're raised up, right? But the ones that you're looking at in the toolbars, they're flat. They don't have these raised little.
Oh yeah, the little box around
so yeah, this box around them. So that's the difference. That is a style that you can add to any button. Now, the other part is I had to put a space in those in order to have them without a name, because you cannot have a button without text. It's very strange. If you don't put a text, the button doesn't show up. So you have to put at least a space,
A character.
and then you have to put something. I used a no width space. That's what I did. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. If I remember right, I was like, yeah, let me put something in it, but that it doesn't take any space. And then I made the buttons 32 by 32. That makes them this. And then if you add the flat style, which is what I think the toolbar did. Now, in your case, so you told AI to build this class, right?
Yes,
Which AI did you use?
I use Claude.
Claude. Okay, so I use Claude to come up with a plan, but I use Codex to code for me. So maybe that's the difference, right? So in your case, Claude came up with a solution that actually worked. Codex came up with a solution that looks okay, but doesn't show the toolbar. I have to figure out why it's not showing it. But this is great. So again, it's exactly the same thing we have been saying for a long time. Claude seems to be usually better at programming than
Well,
you
at
know.
least for now, I mean, it is. They are pitching it as really its niche is in programming, right?
Right.
Done out of the
And
way
you,
to do it.
you see the class is actually pretty small.
And
Yeah,
Connie, maybe
it's
you
very
already
similar
said
to
it.
the one that I was doing.
Do you have a way to put in a divider bar, like to show a break?
Yes,
I
that's
think
one
he
of
has dividers, yes. The one thing that you're missing and that I see
see these
on
right here, the divider bars.
right.
Like,
Yeah. What I'm looking at that you're probably missing that I see on the sides toolbar on the top. You
Yes,
see that at the beginning on the left, totally to the left, the first thing that you see is kind of like a divider.
yes,
That I don't know if that is a rebar or a divider. It looks like a divider. So if you add a divider, then it would look very similar to the one above. But
Right.
what I was saying is they usually use a rebar to have the whole menu be able to be moved from one side to the other. So instead of dividers, you have rebars. And let me kind of like annotate that part. If this is a rebar, this group of buttons could be moved this way or that way, however you prefer. You see, right now, as it is only a divider, you cannot do anything with them. They're stuck there. That's the difference between a rebar and a divider.
It's like a status bar has the different status bars, right? And then you could
Yes.
them as kind of concept.
In this case, what I was thinking is probably the first one was, but it isn't. They're all dividers, so you cannot move this toolbar at all. But if you open, for example, Process Explorer, that's the one that I was showing yesterday.
Right.
I don't know if you have it, but Process Explorer has like little rebars on each, so then you can move them around, which is what I was referring to. And it is very common in those types of menus to have rebars instead of just dividers, right? So this is looking great. And again, now notice what is happening here, right? This part right here, this numput, right? And this string put and stuff like that, okay? This is what I was explaining yesterday. This is the part that is very annoying. And again, even though Claude is good, better than the other AI that I was using at this is still not the correct way of doing that. Well, I wouldn't say the correct. No. There's an easier way of doing that in V2, which is you can call numput once. And these guys, these two, you put them, all of them, all the ones that are two, as continuations of the same command. And then you just put the buffer once.
That makes sense.
And that, so you don't have to call numput 4 times. You just call it once with 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 parameters instead of 2, right? Then all of this is going to disappear because in 2.1, you will not need to do none of that. Right? Because in 2.1, you define what is called a structure, a struct. You define, because what they're doing right here is just filling out an object. It is an object that has 4 parameters, 4 things. And it is an object that is in a different language. With the struct, you will define that as a class in AutoHotkey, as a normal class in AutoHotkey. And then you refer to the parameters very easily. If later on we will ask if there's any questions, if not, I will show an example of what that might look like. Because it is way easier instead of the numput and knowing how many, how the spacing between them is. You will see what that means later. But this is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Isaias, What about, like, I'm just looking here, even though I think we all talked about for our editor, we'll probably use the alternative search and replace. So it's a separate window.
Yes.
But do the buttons, menu, toolbar, like that approach, would that in any way change how you might do the search replace? Or no? I mean, would
Having
you
a toolbar.
Well,
Well,
I'm just saying, like, because I was looking at it down here. That's what got me thinking about it. Is like it almost looks like a toolbar in
it
the bottom
does.
one.
Right. It does. Right. Yeah. So just imagine that in here we had two edit fields and a button, right? So that would be find and that would be replace. So if you have one field but not the other, it just finds. But if you have both, it just replaces, right? I would think that's a thing. And actually, tools like VS Code, they're moving toward sort of closely related to what you said, Joe, but it is just a little tiny window instead of the whole window, right? We don't get the whole thing as before because we don't need that much space taken. They just, when you press Control F, a little thing shows up in here. If you have the new notepad, you can see what I'm talking about. If that's the new one, if that's the old one, no, but can you click on that? When you do Control F here, you will see a little tiny thing pop up on the top right. Do you do Control F? How about Control H?
You might have to have text there.
Oh yeah, go ahead and add some text, and then try again. Control F. Oh, there it is. A little box pops up. It's just a search, and if you need more, I think you can click on the dots here, and then it opens us. Oh no! So here you cannot do replacement, but in VS Code it's almost the same. It's a little window that pops up. And if you need to replace, you can open it up, and now it has a secondary edit field. So between that and having it directly on the toolbar, yeah, I would have it on the toolbar. I don't need to I don't want. I could have like a quick way of searching up there, right? But most editors right now, what they're doing is what I just showed is just a little box when you press Control F instead of the whole thing. Beforehand, there was all these things like, oh, let's search case sensitive. Let's search match the whole word. Let's do this. Now they realized with regular expressions, you can have all that. You just turn on regular expressions, and now it's case sensitive. And if you want to match one word, you just put the /b's, and that's it, right? So they just deferred that to regular expressions now.
Now, what is this area that's below the toolbar?
Those are tabs. Those are tabs.
Okay.
So you can have, and actually, Irfan, are you here? So I was just telling that to Joe. If at any point you decide to have tabs for multiple files,
okay,
the simple way to do this is to have only one scintilla control, one buffer. So what happens?
We can switch files between
very quickly, right? So
yeah.
Connie, if you click on the other tab on the top, so just click on the second tab, the class test.ahk.ahk, the number 2. So go down. So if you allow me to, there. So it didn't actually show a different scintilla control.
It is just
what it did is that it opened the other file and put the text in it. All right. And Joe, what we were talking about, like, having the thing on a memory, on a variable, we don't have to. The text is in a file somewhere. I just have to read the file and put the text, right? We don't have to.
I have a question. So when we change the text from one scintilla control, so how would scintilla control is like store the undo and redo effect? So
no, you can handle that because, again, you can have different buffers for each file that you have open. You have a redo and undo thing if you want to, right? But again, you're going very deep into that, right?
Right now, though, Zayas, we aren't requiring you to actually save the file to be doing stuff, so we might have to rethink about that.
Okay.
Because you're doing stuff without
again, if you do have things in memory, it's still faster than having 10 or 20 different scintilla controls. The problem with that approach is that, yeah, when you have 5 files, no problem. As soon as you have 10, 20, 50, what about if one of those files is like 1 gigabyte? You know, like your program is going to be grabbing a lot of memory for nothing, right? So you just keep one buffer, you switch the tab, and then you change the state of your program. Oh, I want this undo redo variable instead of that one. I want to load this file. I want to save the state temporarily in a different spot so that when I switch, I just load all of that and put it here.
Yes,
But
right now for this one, undo deletes everything.
yeah, because you are on an empty file right now, and that undo takes you
Yeah.
to that spot of that file.
Right. So I'd have
But
to
if you switch to the other one, so if you switch to another one, what would the undo do here, right? So if you had made changes here as well, would the undo remove the other file? No, it should work on this file, right? So if you do Control Z here, it shouldn't clear everything up, right?
it just cleared that one, right?
Exactly. It just works on that one.
Yep. Okay, that's what we expected.
Yep.
But if I save this, then the undo could work on one individual piece.
Yes. Ella está durmiendo y el bebé también.
So
Dame yo decirle que ustedes también. Bueno. Es que el bebé está durmiendo. Dame ver.
yep. Cool.
Yeah, but that's really cool, Connie. Good job on implementing that. All right, I saw Ray had a question. What was your question, Ray? Get insider savings, 25% off courses, scripts, and done-for-you AHK jobs, making premium tools affordable and accessible. Explore our huge library of 466 plus hours of recorded AHK tutorials. Watch, rewind, and master tricks at your own pace.